All right, we are live. I'm Josh Jackson, and this is the Paced Happiest Hour, and we are joined today by Raul Midon. So great to have you,
Oh, nice to be here, so to speak.
so to speak. So I'm in Atlanta. You're in Baltimore. Is that right?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
not Baltimore, but near anyway. Yeah,
near Baltimore.
in the
Gotcha.
suburbs.
Well, we're so glad to have you on. You have a brand new album, Mirror,
Yeah, yeah.
and looking forward to hearing a couple songs from that today. But first, I'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about making this album and what it was about this album different that you've done before. What was exciting you about this particular release?
Well, I did a couple of spoken word pieces, and that was different. I did a piece called "If I Could See," which is a kind of a walk as I imagine it, as a person who's sighted, and what I would notice on the walk and so forth. And then another one was kind of self-explanatory, "A Day Without War," it's called. And then I did some sort of songs like I've always done, and I did a couple of songs that kind of really fit into the sort of jazz rubric, I guess, of sort of standards. So I wrote a song called "Cold Cuts and Coffee," and another song called "Disguise," which is very much in the jazz category. And then I did a song called "A Certain Cafe," very much in that realm. And then some stuff that's more along the lines of what I do, pop, but pop as it used to be, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Actually, there's a song on one of the Spotify playlists called "Retro Pop," which I think is pretty apropos, since that's kind of my pop is retro pop.
Retro
pretty much.
pop. I love it. Well, it is a wonderful blend of a lot of different sounds, and it is mesmerizing to listen to. And I'd love for you to just go ahead and jump into it. What are you going to play first for us today?
I'm going to play a song. Actually, this is from my previous album. I just love this song. I felt like playing this today. This is a song called "A God's Dream," and it was inspired actually by a play I read a long time ago in high school called J.B. by Archibald MacLeish. And it's sort of a take on the book of Job, and except Job doesn't get all his stuff back the way he does in the Bible. He loses all his stuff, and does his faith in God still persist? But in this play, Satan makes a bet with Jesus, with God, that if he takes all his stuff away, his faith would not endure. So I really was inspired by that. So this song is inspired by it. It's called "God's Dream."
All right.
Imagine yourself up on a star in a dream. In the dream, you are everything you've ever wanted to be. You're patient and kind, loving and wise, silently strong and brave enough to close your eyes. You see everything. You know everything. You are everything and beyond. There is nothing. Nothing to strive for, 'cause everything's at hand. a multitude of universes in a grain of sand, created in your image, is the face of man, the face of man. So you decide to walk upon the earth, to be among the ones you've made. You dress up like a circus clown just to march in their parade. The willful bliss of ignorance is everywhere displayed. You wonder why you start to cry and wish that you had stayed, that you could stay and be free. To imagine yourself upon a star in a dream. Imagine yourself upon a star in a dream. Imagine yourself. Imagine yourself.
Woo! Oh, what a beautiful song. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is a great song for times like these, and
Thank you.
it was a good choice.
Thank you.
So you've built a studio in your home. Is it there in your home, or where's your studio?
Yes, yeah, it's down in the basement,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, so it's kind of funny because it's of course what we call a digital workstation. So it does use computer, but it's a totally different program. So I had trouble using Zoom, but this program is infinitely more complex than Zoom. But I've had years and years to work with it.
So during the since we're all stuck at home right now, are you finding time to get down into the basement? And I know you just put an album out, but are you
Every
writing?
day.
Are you playing?
Every day. I am writing a lot of music. I'm working on some collaborations. I'm collaborating with a DJ. I did a collaboration with Jaime Lozano, who is a playwright, or he works with Broadway, and just wrote a really beautiful song. And I did a collaboration with him, and I did a little video with the Monaco Orchestra. So there's some things I'm doing. I'm working on a vocal arrangement of Around Midnight right now, just for kicks. I've always kind of been an admirer of the sort of jazz vocal groups, Manhattan Transfer and Singers Unlimited and that kind of thing. It's an acquired taste, but I just love that stuff. So I'm sort of trying to figure it out right now.
That's great. So how much of the Mirror was recorded downstairs, or was it all recorded off premises?
Most of it was recorded downstairs, although when I did the rhythm sections, well, so a lot of it we sent files back and forth over the internet, and so people in their studios and me in my studio. The jazz stuff we did all together, as one I guess should do with that kind of thing. So we went to a wonderful studio there, Teaneck in New Jersey, and we recorded the rhythm section together there. We also mixed it in Teaneck Studios. But most of the vocals and the guitars and stuff like that I did downstairs. all the pre-production and all that stuff.
That's great. So you came up playing, as you say, throwback pop, full of blues and soul, and a lot of the stuff that you've recorded most recently is more jazzy. Who are your jazz influences that have kind of pushed you in that direction?
Well, I've always been in that direction. It's just a question of what you lean on, you know? I mean, I've always been influenced by a lot of things. So there's so many, you know, I'm influenced by sort of the people that a lot of people are influenced by instrumentally. You know, I mean, you could just name them, Charlie Parker, Joe Henderson, Clifford Brown, you know, just goes on and on. And then, but so that kind of thing. And then, of course, you know, the Tin Pan Alley Poets as far as songwriting goes. So, you know, Cole Porter and the Gershwins and Rodgers and Hart and Sammy Kahn, all that stuff.
Well, I love the way that you take all of that and meld it into something very original. So, you got a second song you're going to play for us today? Is that going to be from
absolutely.
the new record?
So this is sort of the little more retro pop thing that I do. This is a song called "You're the One," and it has a little rap in it and stuff. So it goes like this. Let me take you to another time and place, away from the stress and this crazy fast pace, the killing, the crying, the lying, disgrace. We could disappear without a trace. Did you ever find yourself wishing you could run away to a place where you could start all over again? Change your name, change your game, everything that you do. Everybody's seeing you so differently now. No one knows that you're here. We could go anywhere. We could hop in my car and drive real far. Stop somewhere, stare at the stars, spend our money, hit all the bars. Baby, you're the one. We could take a little trip across the sea. If you want, we could start a family. Nothing in the world but you and me, 'cause baby, you're the one for me. You're the one for me. You're the one for me. Baby, you're the one for me. You're the one for me. Baby, you're the one for me. Baby, you're the one. Nothing but chaos, madness and pain. Courage and wisdom I held in disdain. A commander-in-chief with shit for a brain. With love we can conquer the shame. Did you ever find yourself wishing you could find someone, one to love you and carry you away from this place? Change your name, change your game, everything that you do. Everybody's seeing you so differently now. No one knows that we're here. We could go anywhere. We could hop in my car and drive real far. Stop somewhere, stare at the stars, spend our money, hit all the bars. Baby, you're the one. We could take a little trip across the sea. If you want, we could start a family. Nothing in the world but you and me, 'cause baby, you're the one for me. You're the one for me. Baby, you're the one for me. Baby, you're the one for me.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, one thing I like to ask all the guests on this show is what is keeping you entertained, distracted, feeding your soul, whatever? What piece of art, whether it's of any kind, have you found yourself drawn to while we've all been sort of stuck inside?
Um, well, I sort of have a cliched answer and a slightly more nuanced answer. My cliched answer is one day at a time.
Uh-huh.
And my slightly less cliched answer is I've really been drawn to literature. I've always been drawn to that. But I just finished a Margaret Atwood book called The Blind Assassin. And I'm reading Don Quixote in both languages. I'm getting close to the end. So I've always wanted to read something like that. And obviously with speaking Spanish, I can read Don Quixote in the original language as well as in English. So that's kind of been something that's been a lot of fun for me.
So, have you been going like back and forth, chapter to chapter? Or
Absolutely, and you know,
Uh-huh.
mostly expanding my Spanish vocabulary because it's obviously was written quite a while ago. So there's some words in there that wow, I've never heard before. So.
So you grew up in New Mexico. You're living in Maryland now. How did you end up where you are?
Well, I moved to New York City and sort of did the thing there, and then wanted to buy a house, and we kind of decided to buy a house here, and so we kind of just ended up here. It's also pretty. We wanted to buy something with a lot of space. I could have a studio and stuff, but also it's pretty close to trains and planes and stuff. So.
Well, I'm sure you spend a lot of your time normally on the road, and
Right.
would probably be on the road right now touring the
Absolutely.
album. Do you know
Yeah,
where, like, do you get alerts on where you would have been
Oh yeah,
today?
no, I have the calendar. I would be in Estonia today.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sorry you didn't get to go to Estonia. I'm happy that you were able to join us and continue to put your music out there on the internet. I know you've been doing a few of these things on Zoom, on Facebook, on other things. Where can people, if they want to, hear you do this live or find the album, where's the best place for people to
Well,
go?
the album is everywhere,
Everywhere.
and as far as live, we'll just stay in touch with my Facebook or whatever, and we'll be announcing different things that we'll do. But yeah, the album is everywhere. It's on all the platforms, and I think there are actually some physical copies out there. People want to get those.
So had you been to Estonia before, or would that been the first for you?
I think that might have been the first time. It's hard to say because I've been so much. I've been to a lot of the Eastern. Just lately, in the past few years, I've been to a lot of Serbia and Poland and Lithuania and stuff like that. But I think Estonia might be the first time.
So what is it going to mean to you to be able to get back up on that stage in front of an audience and feel that energy coming from an audience?
Well,
not just through screens?
It'll be very. First few times is going to be like nothing, not like nothing else. I'm sure. We never thought we would be stuck for these reasons, not being able to play for people live. So this. It's going to be something.
Do you know
I don't
when
know
the
what
next
it's going to be
thing
like.
that hasn't been canceled yet is? What you're hoping to get back to? Or
Say that again. I'm sorry.
do you know what the next show that maybe will be happening for you? Or it's probably,
No.
it's just
No.
up in the air?
No, I don't. As far as streaming, but I I just don't know.
So what, being home, being thrown off the road when you'd have an album that you were, planning on playing new songs from that. Have you learned anything? If you feel like you found anything else out about yourself during this time?
I think what I can say is that this is the true meaning of the future doesn't exist, and of being in the now, because we really don't know what the future is. We really don't, and nobody does. Even people that are much more versed in what's going on than I am, and so you learn to just exist in the now moment, and really not think about the future all that much, because you really don't know. You can't plan for something that is so unknown.
Yeah. Yeah, this is March was such a strange month because everything just kept coming at us one after the other, and it felt like it was a year, and every day we learned something new. And
For me, it's important to stay doing stuff, to stay acting like what you do still matters.
yeah,
So, go down there and write a piece of music and record it, or I have not been able to write lyrics, I must say. I can't write a sort of one of these happy, it's okay, we'll be together again kind of song. I can't do it. It nauseates me to write.
Yeah, it doesn't feel true right now.
Yeah. So if I write anything during this thing, it's probably going to be pretty dark. I don't know.
Well, having that studio has got to be a balm, just to be able to go down there and
it's huge.
do
I
what
go
you
down
do.
there every day. I've got a whole bunch of instrumental guitar music that I've written. Like I say, I'm doing some arrangements. I'm doing some collaborations. People are sending me tracks, and I'm working on that. And it's good to be able to do this. To continue doing some work. You don't know where it's going to end up, or if it'll end up anywhere, but at least you're doing something.
Well, I imagine the collaboration process itself is probably a joy, just to be able to get something sent to you, take a listen, be inspired by that, send something back.
Yeah,
since you
I'm
can't be
actually-
with people right now.
I'm actually planning to release something maybe in June. I'm working on something a track that I think I'm going to put out there. So we're just going to keep on going here.
Well, that's great. Well, I can't wait to hear it, and it's been such a pleasure to have you join us today and share your music. We're going to bring Thao Nguyen on to join us here for the toast portion of the show. Pour myself a drink.
Oh,
There she
it
is.
Oh,
Hey, Thao.
hey, how you doing?
Doing good. So every day on the show, we like to just get everybody on the screen at once and raise a glass to whoever we feel needs to be toasted today. And I'll start us off. I'd like to raise a glass to anybody out there who's doing anything to push against racism. It's just been so disturbing and so upsetting to see what happened. Just watching that video and seeing police treat somebody like that, and the way that's just again shown us so much that's been happening in this country for so long. So I'll raise a glass to anybody doing anything anti-racist right now, because there's so much work that needs to be done, and cheers to them.
All right.
So Raul, who else should be toasting today?
I guess I'm going to toast my really good friend. A really good friend, that's not true, but I knew him and hung out with him quite a bit. Um, and a friend of mine, Bill Withers, who I wrote with and really contributed a lot to our to our profession. So toast Bill Withers.
Cheers to Bill Withers.
She's the winners.
All right, Thao, who else should we be toasting today?
I'd like to toast all community organizers who are advocating for the protection and release of incarcerated people who uh, are so vulnerable to COVID at this time, and to all those who support and participate in community-based mutual aid.
Absolutely. Cheers to them.
Yeah.
Great work they're doing. Well, Raul, this has been so much fun. You've come in the studio a couple times in the last few years, and our studio in New York. I would love to get to do this face to face at some point. So when you're touring again, find yourself in Atlanta, we'll have to do this in person. But thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you. Music, Raul.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Raul.
Bye.
So, Thao, that was a great toast. And you've done a lot of work yourself advocating for people who are incarcerated. Before we get into your brand new album and all the great stuff you're doing now, can you just tell us a little bit about that experience? And is that an ongoing thing? Have you been plugged into that area?
I have been as much as I can be, and I'll say first and foremost that I'm definitely on the periphery of all of this organizing, and I've been a proud member and volunteer of the California Coalition for Women Prisoners for years now, which is what inspired our 2013 album We Are Common. But I have great friends who work in this movement and who've been a part of it, such integral parts for so long, and I'm just I'm so in awe of these organizers and people who have previously been incarcerated, who have come out and been the leading voices of how to begin to address and continue to address our criminal justice system.
Well, I've appreciated the work that you've done and how that came out through your art, and I think that's awesome. But I really want to talk about your new album, Temple. It's been out for not even 2 weeks now. I feel like you as an artist and the whole band, the music you guys put out is never rests. Every album sounds completely new and like you're pushing in a different direction. What inspired the direction you went with this album?
It's and thank you very much for saying that. I think the propulsion and the compulsion behind this record was actually to tap in a more incisive way to what my musical inclinations have always been, and with Adam Thompson, our bassist, who co-produced the album with me and who's been my bandmate forever, and he, with his help, we were able to nod to different influences that have not necessarily been focused upon before. So it was sort of like a journey to get back home.
Uh-huh. And the decision to self-produce. This is the first time that you guys produced your own album. Was that exciting? Was that a learning experience? Was it scary?
It was all those things. It was all those things and more. It was, and we've been so fortunate to work with so many incredible producers over the years. And so we were obviously picking up and learning throughout those processes. And yeah, it just felt incredibly right. It felt like the only option to self-produce, especially given the content of the music. And it also felt like I was ready for that. And um, and it's such a heavy lift that there are so many angles. There are all of them. You're responsible for all of them. And so it was so nice that we had both pairs of ears and our sensibilities and our skill sets that complement each other to meet the challenge.
And you've worked with some great producers in the past. Did you go to them and pick their brains on how to do this yourself, or did you just sort of jump right in?
Sure. Yeah. What we've learned it kind of ends up just in the foundation of your musical brain. And it it was really sweet to just remember all of the different experiences we've had. I didn't reach out directly to Tucker because he's so busy, and I haven't talked to him in Tucker Martin, who who produced our first two albums, and we learned so much from him, and so those experiences are always there. Congleton, it was awesome because I did I hosted Song Exploder for 2019. So it was and we did an episode with Sharon Van Etten, and so I was able to talk to Congleton after a few years, after we made the comment. I hadn't talked to him in a while, and it was so nice to reconnect. And at that point, we didn't talk specifically about production for this record. We just sort of it was so nice to be in his producer brain for the episode, that I was reminded of different things that had come up in the session that I would employ. And Meryl Garbus is my closest friend in music, so I talk to her all the time. And so she's always, of course, been such an amazing resource.
Oh, that's great. So, hosting Song Exploder, what an amazing experience! What a great podcast to begin with. But being able to just dive deep with all those artists, how did that sort of change you as an artist, and what was that experience like?
It was such a gift. It was it came at the most amazing time, this opportunity, and I'm so grateful to Rishi for extending that invitation. It was making this record, writing the songs for it. So when I was hosting Song Exploder, that was kind of the beginning stages of writing the music and starting to conceive of what these songs would be. And so there were a lot of it's an arduous journey. And so to have the opportunity every day, basically, to be talking to a different artist or producer about their process and all of the challenges they faced, and the discipline that they employed to push through, was amazing. It was like I had all these inspirational quotes just sort of come at me without having to. I had all this inspiration and encouragement without having to actively seek it out. It just was coming at me every day. So it helped a lot. And then I became more interested in gear or production tricks, or you just pick up different things, and it's and then you can ask right on the spot, what did you use? And it's very helpful.
Oh, that's great. So you're going to play two songs for us today. What are you going to play first? You've got a new one and an old one?
Yeah, I got a new one and an old one. One from A Man Alive, and another one, Pure Cinema, from Temple. Do you want to choose? Do you have?
Why don't we start old, and we'll do the one from A Man Alive.
Start old and new.
Yeah.
I'll take these out. Okay. Here is a memory for departure, but we do learn to take it. We are not born for departure, but we do learn to take it. You're so early in the morning, I'm so late in the night. We waste the same day like no one dies. We waste the same day like no one dies. Fight for me in the modern day, half of all my blood and vein. Fight for me in the modern day, half of all my blood and vein. No, no, I do not recall. No, no, no one cared to remind me. Yes, at last I seek the secret. Do you dare deny me? Yes, at last I seek the secret. Do you dare deny me? Fight for me in the modern day, half of all my blood and vein. Fight for me in the modern day, half of all my blood and vein.
Oh, that's great. So, this new album, writing it, you kind of dug into very personal issues, and which you did. That's 2 albums in a row, really, of like digging very deep. Um, how was that doing this twice in a row on 2 albums?
I wouldn't recommend it. It was it was gutting. It was I describe I would actually now describe both as like this bloodletting. When I finished that record about my dad and our sort of shell of a relationship, it took so much to bounce back emotionally from that, and then especially after touring it and kind of confronting that every night. And I just knew, from the start of my career, I knew that within the songs that I am inclined to write and feel motivated to write, that the material covered in these 2 records are what needed to happen eventually. I needed to talk about my dad. I needed to be to talk about being publicly out and being queer within my family and culture, and it just took the song to do it. But I knew that finishing The Man Alive, that this was the next one up. and I'm really glad to have gone through it and explored those subject matters.
Mm-hmm. And you said with Man Alive that part of it was making the album, but the other part of it was going and playing those songs out. That's something that you haven't yet got to do really fully with these with the new songs on the album. Are you finding electronic ways to sort of connect with your audience and feel like that part of the process is happening, or does it just feel like kind of arrested development of that whole process?
It's very peculiar. It's an ongoing, very dynamic, shifting scenario with how to engage with our audience after releasing the record. I think making those music videos actually really helped me feel more connected to people.
Uh-huh.
And since the album's been out, I've taken the week. This is actually the first sort of live streaming thing I've done. I think I've been doing interviews, but not live streaming since the record came out. And I think it's just navigating how you engage and and do it in a way that doesn't become hazardous with how connected you are and how online and how it's a bummer, because one of my favorite things is to obviously play live for people, but also show our gratitude in person, like really thank people for their support. And so it's tough to feel like that connection's still happening.
Yeah. Well, the videos are great. Phenom is such a fun video, and just kind of feels like it captures this crazy moment that we're all in. Where did the idea to get everybody dancing and on Zoom and put that together come from?
My original intent for that song, the video was always going to be a dance video, because of the dark energy of the song and the kind of chaos of it and the physicality of it. I knew it was always going to be a dance video. And we already had the original treatment with the original director and choreographer and producer, and they, that shoot was canceled in LA. It was going to be the end of March. And then my manager, Joe, so at that point, we didn't know if the song would release. We didn't know how we would present it. Maybe it would be a lyric video. And then my manager, Joe, suggested moving that video onto Zoom.
Uh-huh.
And so the original director and choreographer, the producer, we brought on another director to help manage and navigate this new terrain. And everyone was incredible. They're just Herculean efforts to maximize Zoom. But in the end, it was just the medium that we could use to make a video, and it was a calculated risk to use something so of the moment.
Well, it turned out great, and you have several songs on this album that have that energy, that dance energy. Like, it is, I don't want to say it's a dance album, but there's a lot of songs that make you want to move on this album. Where did that come from as you're writing the lyrics to this thing and feeling like this is the music that needs to get married to all this?
That's always been that marriage has always been very important to me, to have whatever darker, more melancholic, more whatever the lyrical content is, that it can still feel aligned with music that makes you want to move, and it's because there's a lot of joy and celebration in this record, even though there's a lot of grief and sorrow. And no matter what, the movement is processing celebration, or you're trying to sort of exercise the grief out of your body.
Uh-huh. Well, great. So you're going to play which song from the new album did you say you were going to play?
I'm going to play Pure Cinema.
Oh, great.
All right, here we go. Traveled so lightly 'cause I was a fraction out there. Bodies in motion, just wanna belong somewhere. I gave it good enough. I watched it all. Pure cinema. Live a little, my love. Keep a little for once. Ooh. a little, traveled so lightly, 'cause I was a fraction of their bodies in motion, just wanna belong somewhere. I gave it good enough. I watched it all. Pure cinema. I was once a shell you could turn as well. Who do we think we are? Live a little. Won't you stay a while? Find your family. Let them anchor you in the open sea. It could get dangerous, baby, but how bad could it be? Look what fear has done to a young buck like me. Won't you stay a while? Find your family. Let them anchor you in the open sea. It could get dangerous, baby, but how bad could it be? Look what fear has done to a young buck like me. Scatter here, scatter there. Don't be scared, don't be scared. Scatter here, scatter there. Don't be scared, don't be scared. Traveled so lightly, 'cause I was a fraction out there. Bodies in motion, just wanna belong somewhere. I gave it good enough. I watched it all. Pure travel so lightly, 'cause I was a fraction out there. Bodies in motion, just wanna belong somewhere. I gave it good enough. I watched it all. Pure cinema. Oh, thank you. No, please.
Thao, thanks so much for coming on and doing this. This is great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So one thing I like to ask everybody on here is, what is the TV show, book, whatever that is getting you through quarantine? What are you spending your time on right now?
You know, it's got to be Top Chef, man. Yeah, Top Chef, and well, unfortunately, you know, Jason, our drummer, and I were talking. We were texting about how we wished that it would be on every night and that we would pay more money. But it's basically my partner and I watch Chopped on every week night, and then Top Chef on Thursdays, and that's
all right. Now, are you cooking a lot? Are you taking what you're watching and putting it into practice?
I am. I love cooking anyway, and so it you know, one positive is that I'm home more and I get to cook more.
What is the quarantine meal of choice at home?
Some brown rice with a dashi miso stock and some greens from the garden.
Oh, you've got a garden.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, I'm full on like that kind of annoying homesteading that everyone's doing. I'm doing that, and I'm like things you don't want to hear about it. It's
Are you at the sourdough bread stage yet?
Oh, Josh. Well, you know, I will say that yes, but I started baking sourdough when I was making the record. When I was writing the songs for the record, because songwriting was so painful, and so I was despairing so much that baking sourdough made me feel so much better, and it was like something tangible that I could make. Um,
That's fantastic.
I'm a few months ahead of.
All right, so you were ahead of us in all this. So I've been joking that there's four factions, and you're a member of three of them: cooking, gardening, sourdough bread. All you need to do now is start birding, and you're like the professional quarantiner.
Oh man, I'm losing all my street cred. Yeah.
No, it's great. No street cred anymore. Street cred is
What
so
is-
2019. Like none of us have it. So
I'm gonna
what's that?
start brooding.
You got to start. You got to start. So how are you doing in all this? Are you finding ways to keep? I mean, it sounds like these are all ways to keep sane. And normally you'd be out on the road. You're home in Oakland, um, getting through all this. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I say that with all the caveats that we are very lucky to be safe and okay, and I still think the emotional toll is pretty rough. I think worrying about family, worrying about people worrying about parents, and I'm one of them. Like worrying about my mom, and um, but otherwise, I think it's an ongoing effort to make sure you stay present and make sure you do what you need to do to stay healthy mentally.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing the music. Where I mean, people can find the album. It's out now everywhere. But where can they follow you, find you, um,
They
keep in
can,
touch?
um, we have the Twitter and Instagram, Facebook trifecta. Tao Gets Stay Down is the handle. Um, and there will be a lot more live streamed activities in our near future.
Great.
I guess that's how we can all stay in touch.
That's the way. Well, great. Well, thanks so much and be safe. And next time you find yourself in Atlanta, we'll have to do this in the studio face to face and not have a screen right here.
And thank you to you guys for always supporting us. We really appreciate it.
Well, we love what you do.
You.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.